Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com. This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott, episode 92 for January 30th, 2009. I'm Jonesin. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Audible.com. For your free audiobook and a whole lot more, visit audible.com/windows. And by Go to My PC. Wherever you go, access your PC and all your files and programs and email remotely with Go to My PC. For a free trial of this award-winning service, visit gotomypc.com/windows. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show that covers all things Microsoft, Windows, Macintosh, no, wait a minute.
And the emails begin.
Zune. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Paul Thurrott. He is the man in charge of the SuperSite for Windows, winsupersite.com, which I read religiously now that I've become a Windows 7 convert.
Wow.
Yes.
Speaking of which, you were just berating me about this.
Yeah, what's the deal? I thought you were my friend. I thought
I am. In fact, we're quoted together so closely, I think we're actually married in 2 states in this country.
I'm reading the blog. I'm reading a blog. Actually, I think somebody tweeted it.
Yeah.
I think somebody tweeted it and said, Thurrott's giving you a hard time on your release.
No. I wasn't giving you a hard time. It's funny. I started writing the blog post before I even read the whole thing. I actually thought PC World was the one doing the petition, which, by the way, I guess we should explain is someone has put out a petition online for Microsoft to release Windows 7 immediately.
It's not, right? Yeah. And
they quoted you and I as even these guys think that we should be doing this.
Based on positive reviews of Windows 7 by Leo Laporte, misspelled, another Windows enthusiast who has advocated early release of Windows 7 on his podcasts. I wouldn't say I'm a Windows enthusiast, by the way. I think that might be overstating it a little bit.
Jeez.
And Paul Thurrott, who writes and maintains the popular SuperSite for Windows blog, he's, quote, Jonesin for the software release.
I must have said that. That does sound like something I might have said.
I'm Jonesin.
It's just embarrassing.
So, and a lot of people, I tweeted it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are saying, no, it's not ready. It's buggy. You don't want another Vista. And of course, I think if there are any technical reasons to hold it back, absolutely. Bug fixes and everything. All I'm saying is if it's just marketing, if Microsoft's trying to milk the last drop of profit out of Windows Vista, it's time to give up on that cow. That cow's gone dry.
Have given up. I think that cow has been turned into hamburger, eaten, digested, and returned to the earth.
Then I'm happy. Then I don't care. I mean, I certainly don't want them to. And for instance, Google, I just started using Vista 64 on my new Dell. I got a new Dell. I'm in love with my Dell. My Studio 16 laptop.
Is this the colorful looking thing?
No, it has a nice fine Corinthian leather strip on it.
What are you, Ricardo Montalban? Have I used this joke already?
Fine.
Every time I hear Corinthian leather, I think of the...
there is no such thing.
The Chrysler Cordoba.
Yeah, Cordoba. It's the Cordoba of laptops.
And the Wrath of Khan.
Yes. But it's a 16... I don't know if we talked about it before. It's the 16-inch screen, but it's 1080p, so I can watch my Blu-rays on it. It's got a Blu-ray. And it's running Windows Vista 64 fine. It's fine. But I can't stop myself. I had to install Windows 7 on it.
As I was writing my Jonesin post there that you were just showing on the screen.
Yes.
It occurred to me that Windows 7 has taken something away from me that I realize now is very valuable.
What's that?
Which is it's already done, and I don't have this chance to test and provide feedback and watch something evolve over time. Windows 7 is kind of a downer because it's already sealed. Well,
let me ask you
they're not going to fix anything.
Let me ask you
they're
this.
Not.
When I said release Windows 7 on Twitter, I got a lot of people saying, no, I'm having driver issues. There's bugs. Have you had any? Because I haven't had. The one thing, and it only happened with 64, and the same thing happens with Vista 64, so it's not Windows 7, is Chrome won't run without a little additional command line switch.
The Google browser.
I have yet to find any. First of all, it's not a new driver model, right?
No.
So you're not going to have the same issues. Vista was a new driver model. It means all the drivers had to be rewritten. That's not going to happen on Windows
I think
7.
the only, having installed it on a variety of machines, the only thing I've seen is, in some cases, you'll download the Vista drivers. Well, actually, let me step back. In some cases, it's not clear what you need. If you go into Device Manager, you'll have some sort of unknown device. And it's not even really clear what it is you need, to make it right. And because it's, a new version of the OS, some of the PC makers' automated tools don't work correctly and so forth. So that's a little bit strange, and I think that's something that some people would have difficulty overcoming. The other thing that happens is Vista drivers almost always work, but sometimes you have to fool the installer into thinking it's Windows Vista,
right?
Which you can do with the compatibility tools built into Windows.
Okay.
And I think that too is something that many people just aren't familiar with. So I would just say across all the machines I've run it on, for the most part, really good experience hardware compatibility wise.
Yeah.
The MacBook was a weird one, but let's face it, it's not supported anyway. But I had to go and download the sound driver from the manufacturer. The version that Apple supplies on the Leopard disk doesn't work.
Right.
No big deal. But again, maybe something that some people wouldn't.
So you're saying that if you with a minor amount of fussing, it is.
Well, I would say from depending on the machine, from no fussing to some fussing.
Yeah, my Dell had no problems.
Yeah.
I think any machine designed for Vista is going to be pretty close.
Yeah.
And in fact, even that netbook, which is designed for Windows XP,
I even got on one of the Lenovo systems. I installed a Lenovo utility that does all the system updates for you, and told it to run. It downloaded all the extra drivers. It downloaded some utilities, and it all works fine. So it depends on the system, I think.
So it is marketing then is the only reason that Microsoft's whole. Why is Microsoft?
No. Listen, to give them some credit, because I'm gonna rag on Windows 7 a lot today. I have some issues here, but they really do have a pretty I hate to use Microsoft terminology. It just blurts out of my mouth. What they would call a high quality bar. They have a
good. I think that's fine.
I think it's fine too.
They didn't have it for Vista. It's good that they got it now.
Well, I you know what? To be fair to Microsoft again, I think with Windows Vista, they really tried to communicate. Seriously, we are going to release this thing. You need to release your drivers.
They did. You're right. No, that wasn't really their fault.
Blame them
you're right.
Completely for that.
Yeah, you're right.
The other thing is too, and I don't think Microsoft gets any, and never will get credit for this. Windows Vista as of today is actually fine. Now, as I've said that, I'm going to get a few emails from people who say, "Oh, well, this doesn't work and this doesn't work." Maybe there are a few things that don't work, but one of the things I've had to do in the preparation for the next version of the book that I'm working on is install Vista with Service Pack 1 and eventually with Service Pack 2 on a machine, install Windows XP on a machine, which, by the way, is a miserable experience. So I can have these things there, because one of the things I really want to do in this book is compare and contrast across 3 versions of the OS. How have things changed? And you may recall the conversation we had a year and a half ago, maybe, where one of the great tests for Windows Vista is you use it for a while, and then it's really kind of painful going back to Windows XP. And I have to say, I don't experience that too much between Vista and 7, not like I did between XP and Vista.
7 is much closer to Vista than...
It's not hard to go back to Vista. Yeah. And that makes Windows 7 a little strange, because it's not a criticism of Windows 7. Windows 7 is great, but it is really an evolution of Vista. And if you are familiar with Vista and you're happy with Vista, you may enjoy some of the little things. The arrow snap stuff is cool when you can snap the windows around in the screen. The peak stuff is cool. The new taskbar is cool. Fine. But none of it is really critical, honestly. And there isn't this one major thing where you can point to and say, okay, here's the reason you need to get this thing. Even if Microsoft, decides to charge full price for this, which I hope they don't, you should pay it. I mean, it's kind of a tough sell in that way. On the other hand, if you were one of those people who thought Vista was a disaster, maybe this is the time.
I have to say, and maybe it's because I'm a Mac user, and so aesthetics are kind of higher on the list than they ought to be. I find it hard to go back to Vista after Windows 7. Windows 7,
because of the visual stuff.
Yeah, visually it's clean, it's simple, and I think Microsoft. It's funny because using 7 a lot now. I've been installing a lot of Windows software. Yeah. And for instance, I was looking for a multi-home IM client, and I'd been using Trillion for years. People said, it's dated. You should try Digsby. which is free.
Right. Yep.
So I did.
Twitter as well.
Yeah, and it's very powerful, but it's ugly as sin. And what came back to me is, I forgot how ugly Windows software can be. Sure. And I think that there's a different aesthetic in the Windows and Mac world. And to me, Vista is I know you can defend yourself.
No.
Vista's a little uglier
I'm actually
than
agreeing
7.
with you.
7 is beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, actively beautiful.
But, okay, so the dark side of what you just said, because what you said is right.
Yes.
It's 100% right. The dark side of the Apple way of doing things, aside from just the secrecy stuff, I mean, just the actual implementation of this is there's the Mac-like stuff that's in Windows 7 isn't always successful from an end-user standpoint. They are hiding some things.
Right.
Sometimes
style
to make
over substance.
Simple,
you're saying style over substance.
Yeah. For example, Microsoft doesn't offer a way to prevent applications from putting icons into this tray.
Right.
But they'll hide them for you.
Right.
They're still loading at boot time. They're still taking up RAM. They're still doing whatever it is they're doing, which you may or may not want. But now they're being hidden. So, yes, your tray is cleaner. It's simpler. But there's this stuff running.
Right.
And, in Windows Vista, by the way, there's a really handy utility that lets you get rid of that stuff. That's not present in Windows 7. It's gone.
Really?
They took it out.
What's that?
Yeah. It's called Software Explorer. It was part of Windows Defender.
Ooh.
They removed it from Windows 7 because it's not a core feature of an anti-spyware product, which is true. But they didn't replace it with something else.
But you can go down and load the sysinternal stuff and use that instead.
You can do all kinds of different things. Actually,
Process Explorer.
It still has the tools that were available to Windows XP users as well, which are okay. But
right.
It's not. I guess what I'm saying is, is that better? This is one example, and it's one of many examples I have like this. But it is simpler. I agree that it's simpler. It is Mac-like in a way as well, too, and I can see why that appeals to people that like the Mac. But I don't know. I don't know.
Well, in any event, I was merely making the point that having gone to 7, I'm finding it very difficult to use any other version. So maybe you don't feel
No, it's prettier. There's no doubt it's prettier.
And like I said, on the Dell 16, I was saying, well, I'm going to use Vista. I'm going to use Vista. I'm going to use Vista. And I said, I can't. I finally put 7 on it. And I'm kind of regretting it because I did the upgrade because I had already done a lot of installs and stuff. I didn't want to go back. I did the upgrade, and it doesn't. I have to say, it doesn't feel as good as a clean Windows 7 install feels. You can really tell the difference. So.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Now maybe it's purely psychological. I'm sure
it could be. I mean,
it just feels like
there's a great cleansing to be had emotionally when you wipe out a computer and.
Wipe it. Start from scratch. Anyway, I don't want the release Windows 7 thing's kind of tongue in cheek. But
so wait a minute. So but there's an online petition, but you didn't start that, right?
No, some guy named Poe.
Okay, I was making fun of him. I wasn't making fun of you.
Thank you. Okay. I just the headline got me. No,
the headline is that the petition is silly.
Oh, not us.
And no, we're not silly at all. In fact, we're very serious. No, it's one thing to say, look, we've had these conversations about Windows 7 where I've said, look, it's done, Right. And what I mean by that isn't literally that they could ship the beta as the final version.
That's kind of how I feel. The beta,
we're looking at this thing. It's feature complete.
It's better than Vista was when it shipped.
Okay. Whether or not that's true, it's certainly a lot better than Vista was at beta 2, even maybe at a release candidate. But it's simple. I guess what I'm saying is, from a software testing standpoint, one of the goals as a technology enthusiast, as a beta tester, is you hope that you can have some input, and you can hope that when you point out something that's wrong, if other people agree with you, especially, then Microsoft will look at this thing and say, you're right, we're going to fix that. But I have been saying for a long time that they're not interested in fixing those types of things, and now we have a lot of evidence where people who are beta testing have written me numerous emails, especially in the past week, saying, look at this, they just closed this bug and they're not going to fix it. This is working the way we want it to work. We're done. And, Microsoft has spoken to me several times since last October and asked me, why do you keep saying that this thing is done? It's not done. We're doing this. And,
Yeah, and if they have a good technical reason for it, I'll stand down. I want it to be finished.
Yeah.
The good news is...
I guess what I'm saying, I think it is finished in the sense that they need to work on fit and finish. They need to work on performance. They need to work on bugs. They're not going to go and do a major change to the taskbar now. That thing, for better or worse, it's done.
Yeah, no.
And I love it. When I say it's done,
Right.
That's what I'm talking about.
Somebody sent me a note saying Microsoft's clearly paying you to launch this. No, me. Oh. I know you get that too, but clearly paying you to say all these good things about Windows 7. You've never said anything good about Windows 4.
That's true.
And I have said good things about Windows. It's just not been in recent memory.
Listen, I can die with a smile on my face now, knowing that I have had a positive impact.
So it's actually, I would credit you with a lot of it, because just working with you every week, you've kind of slowly brainwashed me.
Wow.
No, that's not true, because I still have no love for XP, and only Vista's okay. But 7, I think Microsoft's really doing a nice job with it, and I'm not getting paid in any way by Microsoft. I've never taken money from them.
Yeah, I wish we were getting paid by Microsoft.
No, I don't wish that. In fact, we have never been offered advertising from either Apple or Microsoft, but I would turn it down, because I just want to be able to say to people when they ask, hell no, I don't take money from Microsoft. What are you talking about? What you talking about, Willis? However, when something's good, I speak it. Now, we should mention that there are some issues. Now, I'm completely getting off your bullet list. I'm sorry.
Oh no, it doesn't matter. This is only an outline, Leo. It is not a decree from on high.
We'll get to all the other great stuff that you want to talk about in a second, but I do want to mention fairly high in the show, because I think it's an important issue. There is a U.A.C. issue.
That's right.
Tell us about that.
So actually, what I have to mention is both of the people involved here, Rafael Rivera, who you know is from Within Windows, and Long Zhen, who is a Windows blogger from istartedsomething.com, approached me separately this morning via IM and asked me, or pointed to the articles that they had written about the fact that the user account control functionality in Windows 7 is, in fact, really easy to bypass and could be used to compromise PCs. Now, actually, and I should also mention jokingly that Long Zhen actually threatened me, that if I didn't mention this, that he would keep harping on me until I did. So I hope I have now met that requirement, sir. If you could leave me alone, that'd be great.
Don't blackmail me, man.
No, it's the reason there is that this is an important issue, and it's something that people need to know about. So user account control, of course, is infamous from Windows Vista. I pointed out a number of times, and by the way, I reinstalled macOS 10 twice this week and was reminded of this yet again doing that. This feature is also available in macOS 10 and in Linux, and I actually find it just as annoying on the Mac as it is in Windows Vista, but clearly I'm in the minority on that one.
Well, it may be annoying, but security is annoying.
Yeah.
There's a trade-off between security and convenience. The more security, the less convenient.
I understand. I guess what I'm saying, though, is even Apple had an ad about it, like how annoying Vista was, as if their own product.
No, it's just as annoying, and all good operating systems do this.
Right. So for Windows 7, because of all the complaints that Microsoft got, they wanted to improve user account control so that it wasn't as annoying. And actually, they did it. But these two bloggers, Raphael and Long, have uncovered the fact that in its current implementation, it's actually dangerous to use. And they recommend resetting it so that it goes back to basically the way it was in Vista. In other words, you
turn it up,
to the highest. I almost said difficulty setting. The highest,
really good way
the highest security setting, because real men when they play video games always play on the highest difficulty setting.
Bring it on setting.
The bring it on setting, exactly. That's from Doom, isn't it? The original Doom, Bring It On, yeah. So. Yeah, they want you to put it up to the highest mode. Now, they've written a VB script that actually shows how this can happen. Like any sort of PC compromise type thing, it requires a certain set of criteria, and it can, your computer has to reboot for the change to take effect and so forth. But, Long went back to Microsoft, I believe, and they actually told him, this works the way we want it to.
I was thinking about it. So here's the deal that at the lower setting, and it's only one step lower than the maximum. The new lower setting, it doesn't notify you when or ask for permission when you want to change Windows settings. That apparently was something that bugged people. And the problem is that malware on your system can now change settings silently, including turning off U.A.C. entirely.
Yes.
So that's the whole. But I was thinking about it. In order for that to happen, malware would have to get onto your system. So you would have already had to told U.A.C. go ahead and do this.
Sure.
So I'm thinking that what Microsoft's thought is, well, look, we're warning them that something's about to change your system. You have to say yes to that before it can even get to the point where it could make these settings changes, right? Because malware has to get on your system somehow. unless there's an exploit.
I have to, again, I know I'm the minority here, but I don't think that the way user account control was in Vista was a problem at all.
Do you leave it on?
I don't touch it.
Well, somebody's pointing out to me, in fact, in my blog, the hypocrisy of, because I was, complaining about U.A.C., although I really wasn't. I was complaining about some things about U.A.C. It always bugged me that I couldn't delete a desktop icon.
Oh yeah, no, it's not. Listen, it's not perfect, right? It can be annoying,
but I never ever turn it off, and I tell people not to turn it off, leave it on, and I'm telling people. I told people today on my blog and on Twitter, turn up the volume.
The default behavior in Windows 7 is different in that it will not pop up if you interact with the computer and do something. In many cases, that might have previously triggered a user account control dialog. That could be spoofed, which is, they've demonstrated via VB script code. So, honestly, I just think they should just ship this thing the way it was in Vista. I know I'm going to get it from people. They could. I mean, that's one of the kinds of things that this beta is out there to test, right? Presumably. The other thing, though, I think is that, people are so attuned to thinking that it's a problem in Vista that they've turned off this feature in 7 just going in. And like I said, I alluded to earlier, they have uncovered a bug in the Windows Gadget infrastructure in Windows 7 because in the current beta, it doesn't work properly if user account control is turned off. In fact, the gadgets just disappear from the desktop. So I guess in this case, they've done something right by doing something wrong in a way. But yeah, I think you're always better off ratcheting that thing up to the highest.
I'm doing it on all of them now. I guess it doesn't bug me that much. I guess I'm getting used to it. And as you say, Macintosh does it, Linux does it.
Yes.
The thing that they've done right, this eliminates the need to be a limited user. You can run as administrator because you don't have administrator privileges.
Right. By default, you're actually running as a limited user all the time.
So I think it's actually a very slick solution. It's like it's what Ubuntu does now, where it makes you be a limited user, but you can always sudo to root permissions if you need to. And I think it's the same exact thing, and I think it's the right way to do it. And basically, all 3 major desktop operating systems do this now.
I would actually argue that the Microsoft implementation is in many ways less annoying than on the Mac or on Linux. Because, if you're an administrative user and you have a password, obviously, you're just clicking OK.
Yeah.
Or continue. If you have...
some might say that's too easy, but...
right. Yeah. Well, you can run as a limited user if you want, and when you do that, you have to type in the password for an administrative account.
That I found so annoying.
You could go in and manually configure it to do that as well as an administrator. That's
you can?
Difficult.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yep.
One other thing, then we'll get back onto topic. You probably already know this, but we were talking about Windows 7 in the version 7. Somebody pointed out to me, if you type VER in the command window...
Yeah, it's 6.1. Yeah. Now, I'm sure I've discussed this before. I've been writing about Microsoft products for over 15 years. That's what my entire life is like in one statement, that Windows 7 is version 6.1. That's all you need to know about my relationship with Microsoft.
I love it.
Yeah, that's what I have to deal with on a daily basis. That's my life. Right. It's the reason I have a job.
We're going to talk about Gmail in just a second. Yep. We're going to talk about Internet Explorer 8. Do more with less, how to survive in today's economic reality. Actually, we're going to start a new podcast around that topic. I'll tell you.
Are you really?
That. Yeah, I'm really excited about it.
You should. This is my life's work.
Good. Well, I'll talk about it. In fact, we'll have you on the show. Before we do that, though, I want to talk about Go to My PC, because these guys are nice guys, and I love them, and I want everybody to use Go to My PC, and it's to that end that I've arranged for a 30-day absolutely free trial for you to use it right now. Go to mypc.com. In fact, if you'll be using it free before I'm finished talking about it. GOTOMYPC.com/Windows. That's short for Windows Weekly. Go to mypc.com/Windows. So here's the deal. Once you go there, a couple of clicks, within 2 minutes, you'll have it installed. There's a guy who's mad at me on Twitter who says, you don't even have to consult because I say, you don't have to consult the IT department. He says, don't tell him that.
Right. Hey, job security is a big deal these days.
Don't tell him that. He's ballistic. I could just see he's going to have an aneurysm. Well, you don't have to tell IT because you don't have to configure the router. You have to do anything. It really is beautiful. Now, here's the deal. You go home. You go traveling, you're at an internet cafe, somewhere really insecure. Doesn't matter. You log in to GoToMyPC.com. You have a secure username and password. You are 128-bit SSL encrypted right to your office. So, you can do it, surf the net if you want. It's better than a VPN. And you can access any network resource from your work. You can run any program because you're actually seeing the Office desktop. You can send and receive email. This thing is really cool. Now, you might have tried, there are free ways to do this. They're very, very slow. You might have tried those. Yeah, you saved a money, but saved $1, but you're sitting there waiting. Not Go to My PC. These guys have very sophisticated proprietary technology that makes this thing fast. The latest version is even faster than ever. Just try it free. If you haven't tried it in a while, this is a good time. Go to mypc.com/Windows. We thank them for their support of Windows Weekly from the good folks at Citrix who really know this stuff. So, how to survive in today's economic reality? We are in tough times. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. In fact, in a way, what you and I do is kind of a template for the new. Do you tell? I mean, I tell my kids, I said, don't expect to have a job for life with a pension and a gold watch. It's not going to happen.
Well, your kids, of course, have no idea what that means anyway. I mean,
they don't expect that because they never heard of such a thing.
Yeah, my parents, my wife's parents, both worked. The fathers worked their entire lives at the same job, at the same company, had a pension and a retirement and all that stuff, and they're basically set for life. You and I may bump into each other in the streets of San Francisco someday, in our cardboard boxes. I mean, we're on our own,
Yep.
And I think that's true for a lot of people. I think the percentage of people like our parents compared to what we're like is moving in our direction. It's just the way things are. So that's tough. Completely independent
of the depression that's going on and the layoffs and everything. Right. But it does kind of force the issue. It's kind of like
it makes these times a little more difficult too. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure, I don't know how you do things, but I mean, we have to pay for our own health care.
Yep.
We have to save on our own. We nobody's matching a 401k that we don't have. That kind of thing. So. We're on our own, and I think that's true for a lot of people. I think people make the wrong decisions in life and so forth.
But I think in a way this is better. It's freeing. You just have to prepare for it, and live
it's hard. I don't know better, but it's certainly.
It's the way it is. Whether it's better,
the way it is. Yeah, I mean, it's.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do a podcast called "What Now." A guy who's a recruiter, executive recruiter. Mm-hmm. Came to me a couple of days ago, old friend. He said, I want to do a show called What Now? That is, okay, now what? What do we do now in this modern age? And we'll talk to entrepreneurs. We'll talk to people like you.
I have 2 book picks for this week, and both of those authors would be great people.
Great, exactly. Because, there's a lot of thinking going on right now about the new way of work. And
the funny thing is, I have been, this is something I talk about with my wife all the time. We've been for years now. And it's funny, when I first came into this, Microsoft at the time had this do more with less marketing slogan for their server products, which is kind of a weird, screwy way of looking at it. In other words, you want to do more with less, which sort of suggests that their server products did less, or something. But that wasn't the point of it. But, it's sort of maximizing your resources and so forth. But, it becomes more and more important, given the way things are now, and that you need to learn to live within your means, and you need to learn to live not on credit. And it's interesting as we move to smaller, more fuel efficient vehicles, around the United States, which is a big change, I think, for this country. And, people with all these, the reverse mortgages and the sub-zero lending and all that weird stuff that was going on there for a while. I mean, I think we kind of hit crazy time, and, things are retreating very quickly. So,
but this is how it's going to be. It was crazy time. We were living on the bubble, right? We were living on credit.
Well, that's what Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer said. This is not a blip. This is not like the dot-com crash where things go down and then come back up. He said the economy is going to reset. It's going to be smaller, and we move forward from there.
I think he's right.
And as I said to my wife recently, on a more personal note, I mean, we need to learn to live on less. And then if things do get better, and I hope they do, not be stupid on the other end of it and start increasing spending. I mean, just learn to stay in that place. And I think it's hard. I think it's hard for everybody. But it's funny, not funny. It's awful. I mean, but
well, what's your prescription, doctor?
Well, like I said, I mean, this is something I've been wrestling with for a long time, and I think people remember this stuff because I do these Everything Must Go events where I try to clear out stuff from the house. Now, this is an attempt by me to lighten the amount of load that I have here. I mean, just the sheer amount of stuff. I surround myself by stuff. I mean, I think it's nice that I'm in a position to be able to sell or give this stuff away myself. Like I don't have to go through eBay or whatever. And I do get a lot of this stuff as a reviewer and so forth. And, it's important for my job. And there's not much I can do about it. I mean, today I went out to the car and there was a huge box of books sitting out there in a driveway for some reason. I think the UPS driver got lazy or whatever. But these things just come to my house. I don't order them in many cases. I don't pay for them sometimes. And I don't need them. And, it's nice to be able to get rid of them. But, everyone I know, it seems like the more space you have, the more it fills up. And, we're just, I think it's tough in our industry too. And we talk a lot about stuff that's coming down the road. We're kind of peddling gadgets at people in some ways. And, sometimes I think you need to take a step back and say, maybe some of the stuff isn't so important, and I think one of the focuses that we can have is focusing on that stuff that does improve things and not worrying about the stuff that doesn't. I talked to my wife uses a Mac, but she can use things like Live Mesh to synchronize data between the cloud and her computer into other PCs so that she'll, we went to Florida and she didn't have some file. She didn't have anyone to get it. Well, she could have used Live Mesh. That would have been great. Or Gmail, which we'll talk about, using the web interface. And it's like one less thing you have to worry about on your PC, that kind of thing. It's like, I think a lot of it is just about streamlining things, and using technology intelligently, and not just using technology because it's technology. And hey, technology is cool. Let's use technology.
Yeah. No, technology is both causing the problem, maybe, but also solving it. And I think that's what's allowing me, for instance,
the service we can provide, right? Is to cut through that and figure out which things are intelligent.
Well, and this is what look what I'm doing. I mean, this is we're doing a TV.
Yeah, what are you doing?
A TV station out of here, a TV and radio station out of here using modern internet technology, modern production technology, all of which is digital. We couldn't have done this 2 years ago, and I think it's a revolution. And so, I think you have to reinvent yourself constantly. And so I like media. I'm a media guy, so I'm reinventing myself in the internet mold.
By the way, also I would say learn constantly, right? If you're not learning something every day, I mean, what's the point? What do you get out of bed for?
Jason Calacanis, who's on the show regularly, said, "What do you do?" He said, "Okay, well, what do you do in tough times when, let's say, you've got a startup but you can't raise money, or you don't?" He says, "You invest in yourself. That's what you do in times like this. You learn, you get better, you use this opportunity to make yourself more employable." I even think the word employable is almost the wrong word these days. I don't know if we're employees anymore.
Sure.
I think we're moving on to something post. I guess most people are still going to have to be employees, right? I mean, that's not going to change. But it seems like we're moving into a world that is post-employee. Yeah.
We're moving into a world that's post all kinds of things.
Yes.
When you think about it. I mean, the world's changing very rapidly.
This technology is disrupting the powers that be, the status quo. And as a result, we have to readjust our way of thinking about it. That's what I went out to dinner last night with a couple of friends, and they're both freaking out, and they're both in the financial services industry. Huh.
And one of them said,
"That's time to get a new job."
Well, as one said, "I'm just happy to have a job," And the other one is more in the computer end, but also in the financial services industry, and he thinks he'll be okay. But it's kind of a scary time, and these are smart guys. They're very employable guys normally, I would say. I mean, I don't know today. Who knows? We could all be working at Wendy's in 2 weeks, but it's a scary time.
Well, I wasn't planning on announcing this new podcast, but you've given me an opportunity to mention it.
I think that's really good timing. I think that, and I think of this. I think of this as do more with less. And I must have mentioned this at some point in the past, because every time I think of the Everything Must Go stuff, every once in a while, the stuff piles up. It piles up. I can see a pile of books over there. I want to get rid of this stuff. I want my goal is to be as streamlined as possible, and it's hard because I have to do a lot of testing.
We're a little bit different, but I agree with you. There's too much crap. There's too much stuff.
It's too much stuff. Yeah, too much stuff.
So everything must go is a brilliant idea.
But it's a it's a way of life in many ways. You can apply it to almost anything. I think of I get email all the time, obviously, from readers and listeners, and people write me and say, well, what kind of Firefox add-ons do you install? I'd really like to know, how you set your thing up. And, I think my response to that actually kind of, it surprises people, which is, what are you talking about? I don't install any Firefox add-ons.
Everything must go, including Firefox add-ons.
No, well, it's just stuff that you could spend your entire life doing things like editing video or managing your photos or perfectly installing all the exact right add-ons in Firefox so it works exactly. I mean, what? Listen, Firefox is a tool. I browse the web with it.
Right. Well, it's also a house of cards. I mean,
yeah. I mean,
I've had now because I have two new computers, the Wind and the Dell. Mm-hmm. Started from scratch, right, and slowly added things, and you can feel it. It feels great right up to a point, and then you add that one
Sometimes
too many thing.
You click on something, and the thing just disappears. Yeah. And then you realize you've crossed that line.
It's like just one thing too many.
I want things to be as streamlined as possible. That's the way I think of it. So yeah, I have certain requirements because I do what I do. I'd love to be a normal technology user. I'd love to have a laptop, as my only computer, and just be a normal human being like that. But I'm not.
No, we're not. We're not normal, Paul. Let's face it.
We're not.
So Gmail made a big shift here. It now you can use Google Gears to use it all. I've been using something on the Mac called Mailplane. It's done this for a while, but now Google Gears makes it possible to.
Right.
Now Gmail's really more like real mail, not just on the web, not just when you're online.
And by the way, wasn't so long ago that webmail was sort of the AOL of the email world, right? Webmail was a joke. Anyone who Hotmail. It's like failing an intelligence test.
Right.
You use Hotmail on the web, really? Oh, well, I think a little less of you now. I think Gmail has changed that. Gmail A is very sophisticated as a web application. It's an amazing application, and now that it works offline, again in beta, but I just installed this Google Gears thing on all of my computers. For the volume of email I have, it said it could only save 2 months of email offline, which actually is more than I would have expected.
Oh, that's it. So it doesn't save everything.
Well, I don't have email. I don't have it up in front of me, but I mean, seriously, my email is insane. So yeah. I don't think I'd even want it to do that. But this is the other thing. Along the lines of what Firefox add-ons do you install? Do I use some sort of client application like Windows Live Mail or Microsoft Outlook to manage this stuff? No, I don't. Because that's another thing to install and manage and set up. And by the way, I have to reinstall PCs all the time. This is information I need to type in every single time. Or I could just have it all out on the web. And one of the nice things I've got going now is I use an iPhone, so I can synchronize my Google contacts from Gmail in my Google Calendar over the air for free to the iPhone using a third-party service and called Nueva Sync. But I work in Gmail in the web thing, and I've tried it. I've gone through Outlook and used it that way for a little while. I've used it in Windows Live Mail, especially over the past several months as I've been testing the new version of that. But, I always go back to the web version. It's just better, I think, and it's simpler, and it's more streamlined. And now that it works offline, I'm really interested. I haven't done it yet, but, tonight I'll grab the laptop and I'll bring it out to the den and I'll turn off the wireless card and I'll play with it, And I think this is a game changer. Yeah.
I've, I asked online, on Twitter, what email program was the best for Windows.
Yep.
Because, I don't really like Apple Mail, and I was looking for something with that simplicity yet power. Outlook is overkill for me, and it really scares me that it stores everything in one big file.
If you go back and forth between this stuff, Outlook is a disaster. I'm sorry.
It's scary. That big file is scary. And, I've been getting that message a lot that you closed it incorrectly. We've got to rebuild it. Yeah. That bothers me.
No, I had this conversation just this morning with my wife, talking about some of this stuff. Because, we talk about technology all the time. She loves technology. But, this is a case where I think technology can simplify your life. She does use the Mail application on the Mac as well, like you do. But, sometimes she finds herself on a Windows laptop, or maybe she's on a trip and she has to use some other computer. If it's up there in Gmail, you don't have to configure that desktop application. Forget it. And by the way, it works exactly the same on the Mac as it does on the PC, the web application, obviously. So, God, we could all be moving to Linux in 5 years, and it wouldn't matter because we're using Gmail, so it doesn't matter. It's one less thing you have to worry about. Now I know I'm going to get the privacy guys.
I use Fastmail, an IMAP client. So what IMAP system. So it is web based.
Yep.
It has Google's IMAP as well, but Fastmail to me is has some few features that I really like. So I was looking for an IMAP client.
Well, it's weird. I actually.
But by the way, most of the people on Twitter said, "What are you talking about? Just use Gmail."
Yeah,
almost everybody said that.
Yeah, smart.
Yeah.
People on Twitter are smart.
They're smart. Although I got some things I'd never heard of. Have you ever seen the bat?
Yeah. Oh God, please. Okay, people on Twitter are also technical. So
is the bat good? Is it something I should try?
No, it's not. No. God, no. Stop. It's like, is OGG a better music format than MP3? I heard OGG was better.
So the bat is like a geeky email?
No, give me a please. Please. You're going to get an email from someone who's like, "Oh God, you got to use the Eudora, but don't use the newer one. Use the version 3.02."
No. I'm not. I've given up on Eudora.
Yeah.
I think I'll probably Windows Live Mail is pretty darn good, but it seems a little odd.
It's fine. And by the way, I don't mean to say, look, you should never use this. Like, listen, normal people, maybe they have one PC. That's fine. Use Windows Live Mail. That's cool. I'm not.
That's my issue.
I'm not dissing on these applications per se, but what I am saying is that the reality of today is we need to access this stuff from a number of places. Popmail doesn't cut it. It has to. IMAP is the baseline. Let's be honest there. And like I said, Gmail supports IMAP, so I can access Gmail via IMAP on the iPhone, which is fantastic. I can do what I call triaging email. That's probably the wrong term, but I go through there and I edit out the stuff I don't need to deal with. And then when I sit down in front of a PC, I have less mail to deal with. I only have the important mails I have to respond to. This is a good system. It's always up on the server. It doesn't matter. I could visit you, sit down in front of one of your computers I've never been to ever in my life.
Right.
Log into Gmail, and it's exactly the way it should be. Everything's there. I don't have that dumb moment where I'm like, "Oh, I forgot to copy over my contacts. I'm an idiot."
Right.
Which is what used to happen to me with Outlook. When I'd have to synchronize this between machines, I'd forget something. Oh, I just blew away 2 months of email. What a jerk, because I deleted my PSD file. Fantastic.
That PSD file just scares me. It should willies out of me. Everything stored in one big blob.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So there is no right answer, but I think you're right. I think Gmail is
there's a right answer. Use Gmail.
You're right. I think it is the right answer.
Everyone's needs are different.
Now that it's offline,
nothing is absolute, obviously.
But then what do I need Windows for? Because I'm using Firefox. Yep. Actually, somebody recommended Thunderbird, which I liked a lot. Thunderbird's
what do you need Windows for? By the way, what do you need the Mac for? Maybe in your case.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You could run. All you need is
for that stuff, But the Mac and Windows are both platforms on which other things run. There's some valuable things on both platforms that make them really, really interesting.
Right.
And some of the integration bits on, let's just say, Windows Live, for example, really interesting stuff. I still like a PC in a local application for word processing. I'm going to have a hard time moving off of Microsoft Word in the same way that some people are listening to saying, you don't understand. I use Outlook Express 6 on Windows XP and I'm never leaving it. It's hard. It's hard in some cases to move off of what you're used to. I do get that. But yeah, when OS is like Windows, there'll always be a benefit to that. Maybe you want to play video games.
Right. No, that's a good point. Is it time to move to IE8? I've been pretty happy with IE7. I can't believe. I mean, it seemed like it was a long gap between 6 and 7, and now already the 8's here.
Right. I have to say, it's really good. And I as I noted, I wrote a review of this release candidate 1 version that just came out. I'm sort of forming in my head my ideas about this thing because for a long time, I really can't use it day to day because of the performance issues which were present up until the release candidate and also the compatibility issues. But what I'm noticing in the release candidate, and this is a weird deal because it only runs in XP, Vista, and then Windows Server, but not in Windows 7. So if you want the latest version, you actually have to use a shipping OS, not the beta version of Windows 7. They fixed it, right? The compatibility is not perfect, but it's much, much better than it was. And the performance, again, it's not quite as snappy as, say, Firefox is, by the way, with no add-ons, because that's when it's snappy. But it's much better than it was, in beta 2. So I'm actually liking what I see a lot. I've been using it on the Vista laptop that I just reinstalled. And I have to say, I like it. And there's a part of me that I like Firefox a lot, but in keeping with that simplicity model, if I didn't have to install Firefox, that's one less thing I have to worry about, right? Every time I reinstall. It's another way to be simpler. And if it's good enough, I'll do that. If it's not, I won't. And that's the thing. When I talk about things like Gmail, which is not a Microsoft product, or the iPhone, which is also not a Microsoft product, I use those things because the value is so exceptional compared to what's available from Microsoft that it just pushes me over the edge. I have to use that stuff. I would be harming myself not to. IE8 it's right on the line, so I'd have to say, if you haven't tested it in a while, definitely check out the release candidate. It's clean and it's fast and it works really well. And there's something to be said, by the way, for some of that integration stuff where they've created these functional pieces in the browser, which are really unique to IE, that make it kind of more valuable than a stripped down browser in many ways. They have a really cool search feature where you can say, I want to search Amazon.com from the search box, and you type in something like Apple iPod, and this visual search box drops down with pictures of the iPods and little blurbs from Amazon, and you can see it without leaving the page you're on or navigating to a new site. You can go into the site exactly where you want to go into it, not just search from the site. It's really interesting stuff like that, and I like it a lot. And we'll see. I need to test it over the next few months, and by the time the final version comes out, we'll see. But
when will that come out? When is the final?
I would say by April.
Okay.
Yeah, somewhere around that time frame.
April.
Well,
I'll wait till then. I can wait that long.
Yeah, they have a Mix show coming up in March. That would be the obvious time to launch it, actually. So,
what is Mix?
Mix is the Microsoft Internet development show.
So that's is there new stuff from a developer point of view in IE8, new features that developers might
there's all kinds of stuff. In fact, one of the best features in there is a developer toolbar that's just available by default. You don't have to install anything. You can just enable it. It allows you to really deep dive into the pages that you're working on, see the CSS and all that stuff.
Right.
And that actually works really well. And it does, one of the things I've used it for is you can compare your site against the specs, and it does that for you, which is really nice to make sure you're complying to whatever it is you say the page is. So if you're using XML version whatever, and that's in your header, it will test it against that, and you can make sure you're conforming to that spec. Is
it your experience that IE8 is compatible with all the same pages that 7 is? In other words...
Well, no. And so one of the big changes in the release candidate is they added a feature that will... they have a database of sites that are known not to work properly. And you can disable this feature if you don't want it, but it will check this basically a blacklist over at Microsoft. And if you hit a site that they know won't render properly, it will render in IE7 mode automatically. You don't have to manually turn that on. So it's and as those sites are brought up to speed, they'll switch back over to IE8 standards rendering mode. So I think that was a smart change, and one of the changes that basically held up the release of the browser.
Cool.
Yeah, it's good. It's definitely worth checking out.
So what do you think of? What do you think? Is this just a rumor that Dell might do a phone? I think Michael Dell kind of. He got slapped around at Davos too. He did by Vladimir Putin. Yeah, the quote there was beautiful. I don't have it in front of me, but it was. I thought Michael Dell really. I think he deserved it. He said,
"Was it sort of like a pandering?" I didn't catch the audio version of it, but what exactly did he say to?
I think I understand why Putin got a little miffed. I mean, Putin's no Democrat, right?
No.
So he's not. He doesn't have to be diplomatic. So maybe a U.S. politician would have been more diplomatic.
Yeah.
So Dell, Putin's speaking at the Davos World Economic Forum, and he's doing a question and answer session. Michael Dell stands up, says, "How can we help Russia?" expand your technology and make best use of your IT. How can we help, Vlad? Hey, Vlad, what can we do to help you?
Yeah.
Putin says, you see, the trick is we don't need any help. We don't need help. We are not invalids. We don't, I love this, we don't have limited mental capacity.
Right.
But
As I've often
he's right.
said,
It was a little patronizing to say, well, here we are. We could help you.
this guy, he's like a Bond villain, which is why I sort of enjoy Putin.
Yeah, he is. What are you talking about, Mr. Bond?
There are pictures of this guy like shirtless, like fishing and stuff. He's crazy.
Now it is time to die, Michael Dell.
Yeah, what do you... Yeah.
He's going to tie Michael
No,
Dell.
Mr. Dell, I expect you to die. It's like, what are you talking about? Yeah. It's like this total non sequitur, yeah.
And then Fortune said Putin's comments that Russian scientists were rightly respected not for their hardware, but for their software as a put down to Dell, saying, hey, anybody could build a computer. It's the software.
Sure. I mean, yeah. Dell is in that commodity business in many ways.
So what now? What's the story with the rumor that they're going to build a phone?
They're definitely working on two designs. Yeah. No, the reason it's sort of a rumor is they may never see the light of day, right? Last year, Dell got all the way to the end of developing a Wi-Fi based MP3 player that would have competed with the Zune and the iPod, and then they pulled it at the last minute. So that could happen here, but they're working on two different smartphone designs, one based on Google Android and the other based on Windows Mobile. Now, there's almost nothing known about it. Apparently, it has the awful code name of Me Phone, and you'd have to think that, yeah. You'd have to hope and pray that if they ever did come out with this thing, which, by the way, I think would be a huge mistake, calling it the Me Phone, I mean, yikes. It's like the Me Too phone.
Well, it really, okay, tell me if I'm wrong. It feels like a little Apple envy. Like, well, Apple,
more than a little. Yeah.
Apple did a phone, and they have Mobile Me. We're going to call our phone the Me Phone.
Listen, I think it's important for people to play to their strengths, right?
Yeah.
Dell makes great hardware. I love their computers. Microsoft, if you want to turn the lens over to Microsoft, I really like the Zune stuff, but let's be honest for a moment here. It's kind of a ripoff, Now, maybe they'll do something cool this year with the Zune. I doubt it. But what we've seen so far is a lot of also Apple envy in this case. Why don't we leave that stuff to the people that do it right and just move on with life?
Yeah.
And I think Dell getting to the smartphone market would be a mistake. No, the caveat.
I thought Apple, when Apple said they were going to do it, I said that don't get in that business. It's a killer business. You don't want to be in that business. Boy, was I wrong.
Well, but they did it right, and they did it with the background of the PDA market, which Steve Jobs reevaluated when he got back to Apple and said, you know what, we don't want to be in this business, and he canceled the Newton against millions of people's wishes.
Yeah, no kidding.
And refused to sell that technology. Never really appeared to do anything with it. Yeah. And let's face it, the PDA market was, of course, sort of a temporary thing. It was an interim phase. Now, the one caveat for Dell, I would say, is that arguably smartphones may be the future of computing, especially the volume future of computing.
That's exactly.
And if that's the case, maybe Dell needs to be in that business, but they have to be prepared to really get soaked for the first version or two, because it's going to be a busy little market.
There are 6 billion. I just heard this last night. There are 6 billion people in the world.
Yep.
There are 3 billion cell phones.
Yeah, 50% market penetration isn't too shabby.
It is.
By the way,
future.
when like 40% of the people we're talking about probably don't have homes,
right?
I mean, yeah. So for a huge percentage of the population, the worldwide population, computing is a phone, right? That is, they'll never own a PC or a laptop. They're going to own a smartphone. Speaking of which, did you hear about the Microsoft patent application from today?
No.
So the world was all abuzz the other day when Apple got their multi-touch patent. And,
which is a shocker, because I don't think they were the...
Well, I don't think people understand how patents work. But I mean, even if Apple were to try to sue somebody for using multi-touch, I mean, I think this is something that would take years and years.
Right.
But Microsoft has patented a docking technology that would allow smartphones to work like PCs do and interact with peripherals and with networks and with the displays.
We need that.
Yeah.
We need that badly. That's a great idea.
But if you think about it, they're talking about turning the smartphone into a computer.
Right.
That's what that is. So you're out and about with the phone, and it's a phone. But when you get in, you can dock the thing,
right?
And it connects to a TV, it connects to camera, it connects to storage, a speaker, speakers rather.
Everything's on here. All my stuff's on here. Why shouldn't it be? And there'll be enough storage soon. Storage is going to be plentiful on these things. Why not?
Right.
Now, what is it? Is it a wireless dock?
Someday,
how does it work? What is the?
It's USB based.
USB.
Dock.
So I'd love to see a wireless.
This is the type of thing where Microsoft will go after Apple for this, and Apple will go after them for multi-touch, and maybe some distant settlement. We'll have multiple devices that all do this kind of stuff. So
I'd love to see that. I think Palm is going in that direction. They with their they have for charging. You just put it on that little pad.
Yeah, which is genius and excellent.
It's the way it ought to be, right?
I was watching there's a CES keynote video of that introduction. If you haven't seen it,
yeah, it's worth watching.
It's definitely worth watching. That's a really interesting device.
I of course will get one when it comes out, and I've seen a lot of phones wreck on the rocks of the trying to be the iPhone
expectations and
But this looks pretty impressive, and Palm at least really has a history. Palm is no stranger to this market.
I was a little leery of it, having just read about it. I wasn't at CES and obviously didn't go to that event, but if you go to Palm's website, you can watch the introduction, which is a pretty long video, including, by the way, a bunch of guys from Apple, right? Like Ed Zander and
well, John Rubinstein. That's kind of the interesting thing. Is they hired the iPhone team.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that encourages me. I mean, it's one thing for Dell to say we're going to do this. They've never done it before. What talent do they have?
No, yeah.
But Palm, not only has Palm done it before, they had the best-selling smartphone, the Trio, for a long time. Yep. But they brought in people who created the iPhone. I mean, these are not novices.
It is. It's an Apple-esque presentation, and
it was. They were really trying to be Jobs, weren't they? Oh,
and the way they relay the information. I mean, this is sort of a they build up to this thing which is suddenly so obvious. We're going to combine all of your contacts into one view, and then the people go crazy.
Right.
But it is. It's interesting. I'm genuinely interested in that. So that one looks interesting.
I think it could have a future. We shall see.
Yeah.
iTunes Plus, finally, I don't know. I guess this is a Windows story since in fact, the majority of iTunes users are Windows users, I would guess.
Yeah, there's two things I wanted to explain here. Apple about a year ago, I guess, introduced iTunes Plus, but they only had one record company on board.
Yeah.
And it was a way to get DRM-free tracks from Apple, much higher quality, AAC, not MP3, which kind of dimmed the compatibility picture, especially a year ago. As of last month, virtually all of the music they have now is DRM-free, very high quality AAC. By I think it was April, 100% of the music they have will be in that format. But they offered at the time a deal for anyone who has purchased music from iTunes over the years. They can upgrade to this DRM-free version of the songs for 30 cents a song. But the initial deal was you had to upgrade everything you ever bought at one time. So if you've been buying songs the past couple of years, I mean, there have got to be people who probably would have faced a bill of several $100s maybe in some cases if they had big enough music.
$353.
$353. Okay,
and guess who fell for it?
I think a lot of people did because there's something about Apple. When Apple speaks, people's wallets are suddenly open in their hands, and the credit card's being pushed forward to the guy in front of them.
The good news is I now have the Regis Philbin Sings album in high quality without DRM.
So. Okay, so if you had just had the common sense to wait a few hours.
I wish I had.
So here's what's changed. So first, they're now allowing people to pick and choose which songs they want to upgrade. So if like you have some content in there that you don't want again, because, let's face it, maybe a few years have gone by and you don't listen to that song anymore.
I want that Regis song. I have it now, but I didn't want
it. Right. So you have that option. I think that's fantastic. I think this is what they should have done from the beginning.
Yes, I agree.
So the other half of this, though, is I would just say, looking out at the landscape for online music stores, I would say that iTunes has now joined Amazon and to a lesser extent Zune marketplaces in being what I would call a first-class choice, in that they're offering music that is DRM-free. It is of high quality. In fact, arguably of higher quality than what's offered at the other stores, because AAC is a better, technically better music format. So it's 256K AAC is fantastic quality. Now, the one niggling issue, of course, is that AAC is not universally compatible.
Right.
But it is today compatible, obviously, with all of Apple's devices. It's compatible with the Zune. It's compatible with the Xbox. And on the Microsoft side, further, once you move to Windows 7, it's compatible with Windows Media Player. It's compatible with Windows Media Center and across the extenders and all that stuff. So I would say looking forward, AAC is less of a problem than it used to be and is now something you should seriously consider. I mean, Apple has the biggest music store by far, and now they have a format. They're offering that content in a format that is A, excellent, and B, soon to be much more widely compatible than it was in the past. So I think it's something now that people can safely think about. And by the way, worst case scenario is you keep the original 256K AAC and you use something like QuickTime or whatever to convert that music down to MP3 and with very little loss of quality, unlike the other tracks where if you did that, you'd experience a very bad loss of quality, actually.
Right.
So you do have that option as well.
No, I'm really pleased that they're doing this. Obviously, it's the record labels that have allowed this. I mean, that's the key, right? If the record labels hadn't said yes, this wouldn't be possible. But no, that's fantastic. I'm very, very, very pleased, and I'm just sorry I was so stupid. I just figured, they'll never.
You're not alone. You're not alone.
They'll never. They'll never offer this.
Sure.
That this is. How
I was shocked. In fact, that was the one thing from that announcement that really surprised me, that they were forcing everyone to buy everything again.
Very frustrating.
Crazy to me. That's terrible. The thing that's terrible about that, and I don't mean to be a cynical person, but like I said, I mean, a lot of the Apple guys, they do what you did. They buy it without thinking, and I feel bad because that's
because we're idiots. Because we're morons.
They're taking advantage of you. And now that they've taken advantage of those guys, they can just do what they should have done in the first place.
Well, I'm such an idiot.
I understand. You get.
But now I do have the complete works of Led Zeppelin unprotected.
Fantastic.
And Reaches.
Enjoy that.
And Reaches, which is kind of the complete,
It's quite a thing to go from Cashmere to whatever Regis was singing back in the 1940s.
I've got a lovely pair of coconuts.
Oh, jeez.
Let's take a break and talk about Audible before we get to your software and hardware picks of the week. Yes, it's that time once again. We've got 2 Audible picks for you. That's a good thing because we've got a special Audible deal. Actually, this could be your triple threat Audible deal.
My triple threat.
You can get 3, but we've got a free Audible book for anybody who's already a member. So that's pretty cool. First, let's start by saying it's audible.com/Windows. That's where you go. And you sign up there for a gold account. That gives you 1 book a month. But when you do that, you get a credit right away. Now, I have to hasten to say that many of the books we mention are U.S. only. Book publishers have deals in each country, and they're different, so Audible doesn't always have an audio version available to you. So I'm going to mention these deals. Think U.S. only. Think U.S. only for the subscription, too. But do try it, because in many cases, in fact, Gordon Hayden, who works for us in Australia, says sometimes the books become available later and stuff, so don't give up.
Sure.
But audible.com/Windows. And you can get a book, 51,000 titles. That's why we like to recommend books. And you got 2 of them. Are you reading both of these?
Yeah. Actually, the first one I got for my wife.
Okay.
And the second one I read about this morning in the New York Times, I believe it was. Somewhere this morning. I don't remember where. Maybe it was in Time Magazine.
And they both have to do with this thesis of
They
yours.
both have to do with the in many ways, the main topic of today, which is the do more with less thing. The first one, which is called The Ultimate Cheapskate's Roadmap to True Riches. Enjoying Life More by Spending Less. I actually heard the author, Jeff Yeager, on NPR the other day. And he was dubbed the ultimate cheapskate. Not the ultimate cheesecake, but the ultimate cheapskate by Matt Lauren on Today, the TV show.
Wow.
But I was listening to this guy, and I thought, I have to get this for my wife. This is exactly the stuff we've been talking about, and one of the things he said that really rang true to me was, he said, as the economy goes south, you have all these people, sort of yuppie types with the Bluetooth headsets, and they're running around and, they're going to Starbucks every morning. And they're buying this $5 cup of coffee. And what they say is, well, I'm gonna cut out that $5 cup of coffee, and that's going to save me X number of dollars.
Yes, and then that way I can keep the butler, the maid.
Yeah, and so his basic deal with that is, you know what? If that's your solution, you haven't fixed anything, because the mindset that led you to spend $5 a day on coffee is still there.
Or
and
$353 on upgrading my iTunes library.
Yes, all right. I don't want to keep harping on that, but
thank you very much.
You are an embarrassment to us all.
I am.
It's there are more fundamental things that you need to kind of fix. And
I've heard that.
Yeah,
but for the life of me, I just can't figure out what they might be.
My butler was just telling me that the other day.
I've heard that.
Anyway, the book looks fantastic, and only just begun it. My wife is actually going through it right now. So that's the first one, and I was ecstatic to see that it was available on Audible. The second one is called Elsewhere, U.S.A. How We Got from the Affluent Society to the Home Office. It's by Dalton Conley. And I had read it, I think, now that I think about it, I think it was Time Magazine. I read I don't know if it was a review or just a mention of this book. Basically, what it talks about is it compares the typical, what I would call information worker of today with, what life was like for our parents and for their parents and how different it is. And what it basically is about is that, we as a society in the United States especially have moved from a system where you basically work 9 to 5 and you had a very rich, enjoyable outside life, to a situation today, which I think you and I both can relate to, where you're basically at work all of the time. And that thanks to PDAs and smartphones and Bluetooth and all that stuff, laptops and everything, we can work from home. We can work during the game. We can, we're always at work, and by the way, I succumb to this all the time. I'm at my son's basketball game on Saturday morning. He's not playing at that particular time. So what do? I whip out my iPhone. I got my face buried in it, and I'm going through my email like a jerk, and it's really easy to get caught up in that.
I do that all the time.
Yeah. So this is an examination of that and how it's changed. And
I'm going to have to read this. That sounds really like something I need.
It's really interesting. Yeah.
Buy this stuff, retire young, and live financially free. That's the ultimate cheapskates roadmap to true riches. And Elsewhere, U.S.A., How We Got from the Affluent Society to the Home Office by Dalton Conley. We'll put those both in the show notes. That way you can find them and quickly link to them. Now, you can get them for free. Well, get one of them for free by going to audible.com/windows and signing up today. I've got another one for you that's free, and it's also inspiring and life-changing. It's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. We still have that free deal if you go to audible.com/twithabits, one word, TWITHABITS. And you can get a copy of that for free. That's also another inspirational book that really will. If you're an existing member, no problem. If you sign up today, no problem. You just have to be a member. So we've got some couple of books for you. And I really love audible.com, and I know you will too. So give them a try. Audible.com/windows. We thank them so much for supporting the Windows Weekly Show. They've been really great to us. And even in these tough times, they're still with us, which is I am very grateful for. Let's get your tip of the week. More Windows 7. I have downloaded every theme pack available.
Well, there's a lot more now, Leo.
Yay!
So I put up, I think, 5 theme packs last week, right?
I'm loving them.
Pictures from my trips and some coffee pictures. Did you get my coffee pictures?
I did. Love them.
Yeah.
Love them.
I have more of those. I'm surprised I can only find 3. I take pictures of coffee everywhere.
Now,
I'm kind of a
did
coffee.
You customize the color to be coffee colored? This is what I like about theme packs. You now have a coffee colored menu bar.
It's like a tan kind of coffee color.
I use the vineyard pack because it has a grape leaf green.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, no, I have because I have all these different computers. I have one that has like Ireland pictures and the windows are green, and then over here I've got like Paris.
Yeah.
Well, since publishing my own little collection, what I've discovered is that actually there's a lot of Windows 7 themes out there already. In fact, an amazing collection. And so I've linked to one that it just has an enormous amount of these themes. And there's a long URL to get to my blog post about it, but it's just tinyurl.com/win7themes. And if you click on the first link in that blog post, you'll go to the actual website that has these themes. And a lot of them, if you're a Mac guy especially, you'll notice that some of them are very Mac-like. In fact, one might say maybe they shouldn't be distributing these because they appear to be images from Leopard. But
really? No.
A lot of them are really attractive, sunset images. My favorite actually is called Stream of Light, and it's sort of a blue stream that goes to red, purple and then red as it goes across the screen. And this is some gorgeous imagery there, and many of them have custom glass colors as well. And so I think
that's it. Glass. It's the Aero glass thing.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Very nice.
But again, if you don't have Windows 7, don't despair. You can still download these things just to get the background images because they're really nice. And you can use any zip application to expand the cab files, which is what these things really are, and then get the images out of them. You can use them in any system. You can use them in Windows XP, Windows Vista, Mac OS, Linux, whatever you use is fine.
So the URL, you very conveniently made this great URL for us, tinyurl.com/win7themes, the number 7.
Yes, sir.
The number 7 themes. And I will be running home right after this show to download every cotton picking one of them.
I spent, I bet, 45 minutes doing that. Yeah. I really enjoy themes.
I do too. It's a silly.
It always reminds me, years and years ago, I wrote a review of the first Plus pack, for Windows. It was kind of a stupid little collection of things you could download for Windows 95. And I really kind of defended it by saying, you know what? This stuff makes Windows more enjoyable to use. Yeah. I mean, how could you complain about something like that? And that's what these Plus packs, these theme packs are like. It's just, it just makes the whole thing prettier. It's nice.
I like the Leopard Aura one. That actually is the Apple.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, there are a couple in there that I like that. Yeah. So
they have the PDC stuff. Hey, that's all right. Time Machine. That's okay. And if you're a Team Fortress fan.
If you yes, exactly. I don't know why that's there, but it really doesn't fit with the others. But yeah,
so attractive.
Sure,
maybe I don't know. Moving on to your software pick of the week, Mr.
I should have had this one weeks ago. I'm embarrassed to say that I have forgotten for weeks in a row not to mention this. I've had probably 100 people write me in about this. There is a third-party tool called Gladinet, which basically creates a virtual drive on your desktop that allows you to access online storage systems like SkyDrive, especially, or Amazon S3 and some other ones. The reason this is huge is Microsoft just released the new version of SkyDrive, which offers an enormous amount of storage, but they only have this really lame web-based interface.
Right. And
to upload photos. You can upload a handful of photos at a time. You can't do folder directories. It makes it really difficult to get stuff up there. Now, because of the amount of storage you get, SkyDrive suddenly is an excellent place to back up your digital photos.
Yeah.
And of course, using Microsoft's Windows Live Photos service, you can share them with other people online. You can create nice online photo slideshows and so forth. But again, really ponderous to get those things up to the cloud. So Gladinet, if it has an issue, and it does, it's not very easy to use, and sometimes it's not very obvious. But once you get it up and running, it does give you that ability to drag and drop things from your desktop into SkyDrive, and that's what it's awesome for. And even though, again, I think it's the type of thing that will improve over time, but even at this early stage, I think it's something to take a look at, especially if you, like so many people, based on the email I get, have been really frustrated by the inability to get stuff up there in a decent.
It's probably WebDAV, right? And this just gives you a WebDAV interface to it.
I would imagine it's something like that. It's sort of like the iDisk software you get, on the Mac or Windows.
I was a little disappointed when I found I couldn't do that with SkyDrive. I thought, oh man,
everyone was. I've gotten so much email about this, and that's why it's silly. I haven't mentioned this yet. I apologize for that. So, thank you to everyone. I've gotten many emails about this. So, definitely something to check out.
Very cool. Once again, you've given us a great deal to think about and download, and also you've given me a heaping pile of regret.
Well, I hope it wasn't mean-spirited.
Of regret.
But seriously, what is wrong with you? How do you sleep it with yourself?
I'm an idiot. You're right. I'm an Apple idiot. I'm one of the horde. Yes, Steve. Yes, Steve. Here's my credit card number, Steve.
Yeah, you just get a phone call. The MasterCard hasn't changed, has it, Leo? We're just gonna.
No, they do. They have it on file. That's what makes it so easy. You literally on iTunes, you look at it. It says, "Well, we could upgrade everything for $353. Click here."
I wonder if there's some subliminal thing happening there.
Yes,
where
Steve.
kind of you took a movie, the screen, it actually flashed like in The Exorcist. You know?
I will click now. I want Regis unprotected. I just thought, truly, I thought, they'll never offer it song by song.
Sure.
And I wanted the unprotected stuff.
I know. No, it's of incredibly higher quality. It's understandable. What's not understandable is how you spent that much money on those songs in the beginning. Because let's face it.
No, the Regis I bought.
No. I'm not talking.
I
about
did that for Live with Kelly and Regis. I had to have a Regis song on the iPod.
You don't have to defend your Journey collection. What I'm saying is, you spent that much money on iTunes Music at all is just it's scary.
Don't stop believing.
I did.
That's a fraction of what I spent. That's a fraction of what I've spent thousands of dollars on iTunes Music.
Jeez. There's got to be a support group.
I don't buy CDs. I stopped buying CDs. I just bought it on iTunes.
No, that's not the problem.
And then remember, this is also my kids. So it all adds up.
Yes, it does.
And
it adds up inside, Leo.
I've got inside. I'm a hollow person inside. I do have the Zune with the unlimited collection,
Sure.
I wish I'd just... That's what's missing still is that subscription thing. That's what we want, really. All right, Mr. P, thank you very much. We've got to get this into editing to get it out pronto.
Listen, I wanted to apologize in front of everybody for making you work on Friday.
This is my day off.
I'm so sorry.
My people take today off,
It's worth noting, however, that I was verbally lashed.
Were you?
By your underling.
Did Dane lash you? Actually, what the real issue is? He was nice
about it, but he made it very clear.
No, it's not me. Let me tell you the real truth. There's nobody here to edit it on Fridays. Tony.
I know. Exactly. I know you're on your own.
So I have to put this thing.
So I think this would be the appropriate time because he may listen to this eventually.
He's listening right now. I guarantee you. He sits in the other room with the headphones on.
Okay, so then you should admit that you would kind of enjoy being there when he's not there.
He's there right now. He's always there.
Oh, he's there?
He's always here.
What is wrong? What, does he live there?
No, he takes Saturday. He has a normal weekend. He takes Saturday and Sunday off.
So he actually works 9 to 5 like a normal guy.
Yeah, it's called a job.
We should ask him what that's like.
I get this, Paul. Talk about
he would be someone to have on the podcast.
Yeah, talk about moving in the opposite direction. I give my employees health benefits, a 401k, profit sharing. There's only a handful.
So this is do it or do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a gold watch in 50 years.
Nice.
I've got it already saved up. I'm ready. Paul, good to talk to you. Make sure you visit Paul's sites, SuperSite for Windows at winsupersite.com. Make sure you buy his book because it's almost, pretty soon nobody's going to want it. Windows Vista Secrets. He worked really hard on it. And you know what? It's a really, really good book. And if you're using Vista, you need to have it. It's the Vista reference. So there. And I'll be sure to buy Windows 7 Secrets too when that comes out in a couple of months. And then no, it's not. It's gonna be a long time before that comes out.
It's gonna be September.
Yeah. Right about when Vista comes out, Windows 7 comes out.
Hopefully.
But the blog is great. Download his coffee pictures.
The blog is pretty good.
The blog's great. And it's keeping his head above water, and that's what really counts.
That's right. Unlike Dane, I don't actually have a job.
No.
So
what was he doing before we got on the show? Why is the room so dark? I ask you. Go ahead, tell him. Go ahead.
I can't pay the bills.
Go ahead. No. Call of Duty. Call of Duty.
It's odd that I can't keep food on the table.
He sits in his office.
No matter how much I play Call of Duty, no more money comes in.
Plays video games. Hey,
I keep waiting for the check from Activision or whatever.
Play World of Warcraft, you can make gold.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not real gold.
I'll look at it.
Won't buy you lunch. It'll buy you a little imaginary lunch, like a drumstick that you eat on screen.
Wow.
That's very satisfying.
Yeah.
All right, who are you rooting for in the Super Bowl?
Cardinals.
Really?
I had seasons tickets to the Cardinals 10 years ago.
I didn't know.
In fact, sometime this weekend on Twitter, I will post a hilarious photo of myself and my friend with our faces painted as Cardinals going to the game.
I'm shocked.
Oh, it's awesome.
Well, you have to root for the Cardinals then.
I have to.
There's still a little fleck of red on your neck, I think.
9 and 7.
I think the Steelers going all the way. I hate to see it.
It's been a season of surprises, Leo. So
you never know. They're hot in January. All right, Paul. Have a great Super Bowl Sunday, and big game Sunday, and
Okay. What is that? The politically correct term?
No, I don't know. You're not allowed to say the word Super Bowl.
What? Where we have to pay like the NFL, like a stipend?
Yeah, something like that. I can't sing Happy Birthday either. I have to sing for He's a Jolly Good Fellow.
Isn't Happy Birthday in public domain?
No. You know who owns it? No. Time Warner owns it. You have to pay AOL every time you sing Happy Birthday.
Oh,
you didn't know that? Well, you'll be getting a bill later.
I see.
Every time.
Okay. By the way, today is my wife's birthday.
Happy birthday to your little woman.
My little, yeah. Okay. Well, fortunately, as this is a technology podcast, she will never listen to this. So,
get her off the Call
I'll
of
be
Duty
sure to
and
let
give her
the
a flower.
diminutive one know that you
tell the diminutive one. Happy birthday. See you later, Paul. We'll see you all next time on Windows Weekly.